Welcome to a great story that will inspire you and help you learn English. Today we will learn about Albert Einstein, a man who changed the world with his ideas and bravery. As you read, try to notice new words and phrases. This story is not just about English. It is also about how being curious and never giving up can help you do great things. So, get a notebook, pay attention, and let's start this journey to improve your English and learn from a genius. Albert Einstein was born on March 14, 1879, in a small town in Germany called Ulm. His parents were Hermann Einstein and Pauline Koch. They were normal people. Hermann was a businessman who worked with electrical parts. Pauline was a housewife who loved music and learning. When Albert was born, nothing seemed special about him except one thing. His head was bigger than usual. His family joked about it, wondering if he would grow up normally. They did not know that this quiet boy would change the world one day. Albert was very quiet as a child. He did not say his first words until he was almost 3 years old. His parents worried about him. Some people thought there was something wrong with Albert. His family called him the quiet one because he rarely spoke, even when other children talked a lot. But Albert was not quiet because he was slow. He was quiet because he was always thinking. He would sit for hours watching the world as if he wanted to understand how things worked. When Albert was 5, his father gave him a small gift that changed his life, a simple compass. At first, Albert did not know how it worked. How could the needle always point north no matter how he turned it? He became very interested in the compass. He looked at it for hours, trying to find the invisible force that moved the needle. This was the first time Albert saw that some things in the world are invisible, and he wanted to learn about all of them. Later he said, "That experience left a deep and lasting impression on me." When Albert started school he had problems. He did not like how his teachers taught. Back then, schools were very strict and students had to memorize many facts. But Albert did not want to memorize. He wanted to ask questions and find answers. His teachers often got angry at him. One teacher said, "You are a disgrace. You will never be successful." These words hurt Albert, but he did not stop trying. Albert had difficulty with some subjects, especially languages. But he loved math more than anything. He said math was the language of the universe and he liked solving math problems like puzzles. Even though Albert had problems at school, his family believed in him. His mother, Pauline, saw that he loved music and told him to learn the violin. At first, Albert did not like practicing. But after some time, music helped him relax and think clearly. Albert's uncle Jacob also helped him a lot. Jacob loved math and taught Albert in a fun way. He told Albert, "Math is like a treasure hunt. Every problem is a clue to the answer." This made Albert enjoy math even more. Albert was different from other children. While other kids played games, he spent hours reading books and thinking about how the world worked. He liked stories about great scientists and dreamed of making new discoveries. One day, walking home from school, Albert asked himself, what would it be like to ride a beam of light? This question stayed in his mind for many years. It started his lifelong journey to learn about light, space, and time. When Albert was 15, his life became hard. His father's business failed and his family moved to Italy. Albert stayed in Germany to finish school, but he felt lonely and unhappy. After some time, he decided to leave school without finishing because he did not like the strict rules or harsh teachers. Albert began to study by himself. He read books about science, philosophy, and math, teaching himself what he wanted to learn. Many people thought leaving school was a bad choice and that he ruined his future. But Albert did not care. He believed learning was more important than following rules. At 16, Albert wrote his first scientific paper. It was not perfect but showed his great ability. He applied to a famous school in Switzerland called the Swiss Federal Polytechnic School. However, he failed the entrance exam because he was not good at some subjects like French and history. Instead of giving up, Albert worked harder and tried again. He improved his weak subjects and did not let failure stop him. Albert's early life was full of hard times and doubts. People did not understand him and he faced rejection. But he never stopped trying. His curiosity and love for learning kept him going. Albert moved to Switzerland, a country with a modern school system. Schools there were less strict and students could think freely. This was what Albert needed. At 17, Albert passed the exam and joined the Swiss Federal Polytechnic School in Zurich. But his problems did not end. Albert was rebellious and had a hard time fitting in. He loved math and physics but did not care about other subjects. Some teachers did not like his way of thinking. One said, "You are smart, Einstein, but you lack discipline." Albert was not the best student. He skipped classes and studied alone. While others followed the lessons, Albert asked big questions. What is light? How does time work? Why does gravity exist? These were not simple questions. At the Polytechnic, Albert met a young woman named Mileva Marek. She was the only female physics student and very smart. They shared a love for science and spent many hours talking about theories. Mileva became Albert's closest friend and supporter. They dreamed of making big discoveries together. Albert once wrote to her, "Together, we will conquer the world of science." Albert and Mileva's relationship was strong, but life was not easy. Mileva faced many problems because she was a woman in science. Albert also had money problems. But they supported each other and kept working on their dreams. In 1900, when Albert was 21, he finished school with a degree in physics. He was excited to start his career as a scientist. But things did not go as planned. Albert could not find a job. He applied to many universities to become a teacher or researcher, but he was rejected every time. His old teachers did not write good recommendations because they thought he was lazy. This was a hard time for Albert. Imagine working hard for many years but being told, no, again and again. Still, Albert did not give up. Instead, he took any job he could find to support himself. In 1902, Albert found a job as a clerk at the Swiss Patent Office in Bern. His work was to look at new inventions and decide if they were original. The job had nothing to do with physics and Albert was disappointed at first. But he used his free time well. The job gave him time to think about his scientific ideas. He called the patent office his thinking lab. While working, he secretly wrote down his thoughts about light, time, and space. He was determined to follow his dreams, even if it meant working late at night. In 1903, Albert married Mileva. They had a simple wedding and soon had their first child, a son named Hans Albert Einstein. Although happy, life was still hard. Albert's salary as a clerk was small. They lived in a small apartment and often struggled with money. Friends told Albert to give up on science and focus on his job. But Albert refused. He said, "I would rather struggle for my passion than live comfortably without purpose." Albert kept working on his ideas. In 1905, at 26 years old, he published several papers that changed science forever. This year is called Einstein's Miracle Year. The papers included the photoelectric effect. Albert explained how light acts like tiny particles called photons. This work later won him the Nobel Prize. Brownian motion. He proved atoms exist, which was a big discovery at the time. Special theory of relativity. This was his most famous work. It showed that time and space are not fixed but can change. From this theory came the famous formula, E equals mc squared, meaning energy and matter can change into each other. These papers shocked the science world. Albert, a simple clerk with no university job, had changed physics forever. After 1905, Albert's life began to change. Scientists worldwide noticed his work. He was offered teaching jobs and became a professor at several universities. His hard work and never giving up were finally paying off. But Albert stayed humble. He kept asking big questions and pushing science further. He believed that learning has no end, and curiosity is the key to understanding everything. Albert Einstein's life shows us the power of never giving up. He faced failures, poverty, and doubt, but his love for learning kept him going. His story teaches 3 important lessons. Failure is not the end but a step to success. Believe in yourself more than seeking others' approval. Big dreams need big sacrifices. By 1909, Albert's discoveries were famous across Europe. He became a professor at the University of Zurich and later moved to Prague to teach at the German university. During these years, Albert started to understand how important his work was. People saw him as a genius who could solve the universe's mysteries. But Albert stayed humble. He said, "I am no genius. I am just curious and ask questions longer than others." Fame brought problems too. Albert did not care about money or style. He wore old clothes and lived simply, focusing on his work. Though the world celebrated him, Albert knew his journey was not over. In 1914, Albert moved to Berlin, Germany. He got a top job at the Prussian Academy of Sciences. This gave him resources and freedom to focus on research. But the world was changing fast. World War I started, affecting millions of lives. Many scientists supported the war, but Albert spoke against it. He believed in peace and used his voice to promote it. During this time, Albert's marriage with Mileva had problems. Fame and past money troubles made them grow apart. They divorced in 1919, but Albert made sure Mileva and their children were supported financially. That same year, a great event happened. British scientists tested Albert's general theory of relativity, which he had been working on since 1915. The test showed his theory was right. Gravity can bend light. This discovery changed how we understand the universe. The news spread quickly. Albert Einstein became a global star overnight. Newspapers everywhere had big headlines, "Einstein's theory proven true." For the first time, a scientist became a celebrity. When asked about his fame, Albert joked, "If my theories are wrong, Americans will say I am German and Germans will say I am Jewish. If my theories are right, Germans will say I am German and Americans will say I am Jewish." This showed his wit and the problems he faced as a Jewish scientist. In the 1920s, Albert traveled the world, giving talks and meeting other scientists. He visited the United States, Japan, and many places. He used his fame to talk for peace and help minorities and refugees. But fame also brought criticism. Some said he was too idealistic. Others tried to discredit his work. Albert faced these with calm, saying, "Great minds have always met strong opposition." In 1933, things became dangerous for Albert in Germany. The Nazi Party was rising, and as a Jewish scientist, Albert was in great danger. The Nazis burned his books and called his work Jewish science. Albert moved to the United States and joined the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, New Jersey. He was sad about what happened in Germany but stayed hopeful. He said, "In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity." Albert became an American citizen in 1940 and lived in the U.S. for the rest of his life. During World War II, Albert was asked to help with the atomic bomb project. Although he did not work directly on the bomb, his famous equation E=mc² was the science behind nuclear energy. When the bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945, Albert was very upset. He regretted that his work was used for destruction. After the war, he worked hard to stop nuclear weapons. He said, "Mankind made the atomic bomb, but no mouse would ever make a mousetrap." Even though he was famous worldwide, Albert lived simply. He did not own a car, did not wear socks, and liked sailing even though he could not swim. His curiosity never stopped. He kept asking questions about the universe like black holes and time travel. He believed there was always more to learn. In his last years, Albert tried to find one big theory that would explain all forces in nature. This challenge is still unsolved. Though his health became weak, he worked until the very end. On April 18, 1955, Albert Einstein died at age 76. His last words were spoken in German, but the nurse did not understand them, so they were never recorded. Albert Einstein's work in science, peace, and humanity is unmatched. His life teaches us, struggles can lead to greatness. Albert faced rejection, jokes, and war but never gave up. Curiosity drives progress. He told us to ask questions and look for answers no matter how hard. Humility is strong. Despite his fame, Albert stayed simple and grounded. Today his name means genius, but his story is more than smartness. It is about courage, patience, and believing one person can change the world. Albert Einstein's life shows that greatness is not about being perfect. It is about passion, hard work, and not fearing the impossible. His famous words still inspire us. Try not to become a person of success, but a person of value.